Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of Addington News, brought to you by the wonderful pictures on. Is AJ Berry? Can he claim these from Race Images, Darren? Because there's a couple of beauties there.
No.
Good. That's some ammo for me.
There's a couple of good shots there of some sunsets and things at Addington, and just keep mixing it up and changing the background. So it's a bit of fun, and we'll find some things that we can add in the weeks to come.
Before we preview this Thursday's meeting, let's go back to last week and a couple of the performances. And we all know that when horses drop back, particularly from Group 1 races, like Darling Me did, when they're in their own grade, they're pretty competitive. Well, she destroyed a pretty handy sort of field last week.
Yeah, look, she was really travelling before the home bend, and I think in that first 10-30 metres of the straight, she just put more lengths on them and pretty much eased down at the line. So she's an exceptionally well-bred horse, as we know. Stonewall Stud and the Telfers and the team around them doing a tremendous job in both islands, but a really welcome addition to the Canterbury scene. And she was a great winner on a Thursday night at Addington. Terrific stuff.
Yeah. Couple of other really good performances. Phoebe Onyx just keeps on flying. Bob Butt's doing a tremendous job, as we highlighted last week, with him, and Cosmic Major's return. Yeah, the overall time wasn't that fast, but you only have to go fast enough to win. And he's probably third or fourth in the Mark Purdon Hayden Cutton pecking order, but he's a pretty smart animal.
Yeah, he is. There were a couple of other good performances, and one of the videos we're going to leave you with the last race on the night where we had a big boil over. And it seems to be, we're just talking off camera before about the number of roughies that we seem to get home. It seems to be one turn up most race meetings, and just causes a bit of a boil over. And Ron McKinley was the one that did that in the last race last Thursday night.
Yeah, well, it's normally in the leg that I haven't got enough, and that was clearly evident last Thursday too. Darren, on a sad note, a great supporter of Addington Raceway, great supporter of harness racing, Neville McNee. And Neville passed away over the weekend, and he was 85. First of all, would never have picked he was 85. Second of all, great bloke. Always had time for you. Always wanted to have a chat about harness. Raced plenty of horses in his time. And we lost him over the weekend, and we lost a real friend of the sport.
Yeah, look, absolutely. He had a long commitment with the industry, in particular with the Oamaru Harness Racing Club, where he's a life member and a previous president down there. We always seen his smiling face and spectators every week, pretty much for lunch at some stage during the week. Always had a chat. Certainly loved the game, and will be missed. So our thoughts go out to the family and all of the people around Neville at this sad time.
Yeah, his niece, Rachel Deegan, was telling me about a couple of horses he raced, like Grenfell Robin. Had a great association with Dean Taylor, good mate of Dean's. And he actually won a race with Tony Mack, trained by Brad Williamson, who I'm pretty sure lined up here at Addington, but it won its race over the Christmas period. Maybe have even been at Cromwell, and he would have loved that too, being a southern man. So, condolences to the family of Neville McNee. Thursday night action though, Darren, we've got 9 races. He'll be farewell, by the way, here at Addington Raceway appropriately on Friday night about 6 o'clock. But let's get into the preview, as he would want it of us to.
Yeah, race 1, the IRT Your Horse Our Passion Mobile. The first 5 races on the program, all mobile 1980s, and this race goes at 5:26.
Yeah, pretty hard to beat. Better Be Sharp. 2 very good runs for Gerard O'Reilly. Has shown good manners in both of those. Gets the mobile for the second time, and showed some good speed the first time. So I expect it probably to win its maiden, and it'll be pretty short with the bookies too. So Better Be Sharp in the first to beat Bondi Luster, who keeps racing well for Ivan Court. Sweet Joy and What's on Your Mind have both trialled up nicely. Significantly, Blair Orange taking the drive on the Graham Court runner over the Ken Barron runner, and Radasi's got a bit of breeding about it for the Renwicks, and Darren Keese comes up with barrier 1, so you can probably make a case for it too, but I think it's probably Better Be Sharp's race to lose.
Yeah, based on its run last time, it was an exceptionally good run. I thought Bettolini might have been a chance from out wide. It was going forward when it made a mistake last time, and there was a wee bit of money around it, but it's got an awful draw the outside of the gate there. Race 2 is an NZB Standardbred Mobile Pace, 1980 at 5:52, the first leg of the early quaddie.
You're going to hear me talk about a couple of horses dropping back in grade significantly, and this is one. It'll be short. Matt Major, last start second behind Tegan Banner, was in a far stronger field than this and comes up with the same barrier draw. I think Matt Major will take all sorts of beating. It's a multi-must for you on the night. Coachella's been excellent in 2 runs today. Blair Orange and Ken Barron combine again there. I'm expecting a better run from Kowai Magic too. Those horses that I've just mentioned, drawn to its outside, may get in front of her, but she'll be in the right position. She could definitely play a part first 4 wise. Best Trio is racing well and deserved to get another win last time. So I wouldn't think that this is much of a step really for it. So I expect Best Trio to be competitive too, but I'm going to make this the bet of the week. Matt Major, race 2, number 2.
Race number 3 is the second leg of the early quaddie, the Speight's Mobile Trot, 1980 at 6:16.
You wouldn't play cards with her and you wouldn't trust her at all, Sue Princess, but this race is just made for her, Darren. She's trotting better now. Mark Jones, Sam Otley combination. Nice win at Rangiora. Strong performance behind Franco Josiah on a day where virtually no horse came from the back outside of Spankham when we know the class that he is. So Sue Princess throwing into this race, trots all the way. I expect her to be extremely hard to beat. Muscle Bank's got plenty of ability, but again, it's up against Bright Glows, who's another one you've got to have in by virtue of both of Bright Glow and Sue Princess. I'm pretty sure they've both won 11 races. So they're in this race right up to their ears. Trixton Time's got a good barrier draw, should press forward and get somewhere near the lead. And Top Hat and Tails has always had ability, but you've got to play around definitely Sue Princess, Muscle Bank, because it'll go further than most in this field, and Bright Glow. And I think you'll find your way to a decent share of the first 4 if you mix in those other couple too.
Yeah, look, I think one of the interesting runners there is Gazman down from the Dylan Ferguson, Graham Rogerson team with Regan Todd, and didn't go too good at Ashburton, but I think he's a wee bit better than that, and the Mobile at Addington may suit him as a wee bit of a roughie. He won't be down here to just look at the scenery anyway. Race number 4 is Macmillan Equine Feeds Mobile Trot 1980 at 6:41.
Rakiro Blaze won by a cricket pitch down there at Ashburton last Saturday, but Mr. Love was going to get a lot closer. He obviously galloped and was subsequently disqualified. He didn't trot very well. I reckon the hopes would have worked on that. And with natural improvement, he's the one to beat in this. La Dama is racing in excellent form and building nicely, so there's definitely a win there at short notice. I don't mind a horse called Rush, who's taking a bit of time to learn what the trotting game is all about. Bruce Greenhouse races this one, and of course he was part of the ownership group with the mighty Take a Moment. So from barrier 1, I can see it getting a share of it, and Royden Muscle has a fair bit of breeding about it and is first up in this campaign. So I'd expect a pretty good performance from it. There's a couple of others there that you might want to throw in. Cosmic Angel and West Star Millie are horses that can win races too. Interesting old maiden trot, but I'll plumb for Mr. Love in a race that you might need a few quaddie-wise.
Race number 5 is the last leg of that early quaddie, Hydroflow Mobile Pace 1980 at 7:06.
Good race, like a tricky race. Revered will be favourite again. He just about is every time he goes around, but to the second row, I'm so convinced that that's a good draw for him. But he has the quality to win a race like this, so you'd have him in quaddie-wise. Steph's Boy, I definitely think's a winning chance. If he could roll to the front, Jared O'Reilly will set them alight at some point, and it'll take some beating, I think. So I actually found it on top ahead of Revered. Suntan's not the worst, follows Speed well, follows Betterfly, who's a last start winner, so that's a good spot to be. And it's hard to go outside the Paraki Reactor trial form. It's finished second behind Spankham, beat the others just as easily. If I take a quaddie, you just got to put it in on that alone, and Tim Williams takes the drive. So, yeah, I definitely have it in. Steph's Boy, not a huge amount of confidence, but it's the top tip in it. But you need all of those ones I've just mentioned if you want a piece of that quaddie, particularly getting to the last league.
Race number 6, the first leg of the Lake Quaddie, the last 4 races. Hotel Montreal Handicap Trot, pleased to have them on board as a sponsor, 2,600 metres, 7:31, and it's one of our handicap races.
Yeah, look, it robbed a wee bit of interest with 5 Wise Men coming out. The two back markers being Phoebe Onyx and Chief of Staff will both be very competitive. And how could you not Phoebe Onyx? I know this was going to be a bigger step, I thought, for him, and he started off 35 metres last week, so comes up 5 for this, but 5 Wise Men coming out definitely makes him the horse to beat again. He can make it 3 in a row, and with Chief of Staff there, it might not necessarily have to be him that makes the move, although he's a fast beginner, so he'll get through them pretty quickly. So he's top pick, ahead of Cocky Milk, who's racing really well, strong behind it last time. Obviously, handicap-wise, gets into this beautifully. It's off the front, whereas last time it started off 20 metres from memory and Phoebe Onyx was 35. So it makes it miles better off here. In fact, so much so that it could probably turn the table. So 10 to beat 4, time up the hill. I'm waiting for her to reproduce her 3-year-old form. Much better last time behind the Bloss. Definitely can put a hoof in the till in this one again. And Chief of Staff is just too good to completely dismiss here. He hasn't been quite as good as what he was leading into the Cup meeting of last year, but yeah, he must surely be getting a lot closer to that now. He's had a couple of runs back.
Race number 7 is the Rico Pace, 2,600 metre stand at 7:56.
Yeah, good race, Darren. 2 pretty smart horses here. It's a money maker, won easily last week. Beat Better Be Sharp. You'll know that form will be Frank probably in race number 1, and just did it under his own steam. Did it really nicely. Nice 3-year-old going forward. Takes on a 5-year-old by Better's Delight, who had its first start back at Oamaru in, when was that, October. And I thought to myself, what's John Hay doing here? This horse must have ability. Sure enough, turned up. Dog likes it too, which is a good sign. Turned up and won nicely and had plenty of money on as well. So I watched its trial the other day. And again, trial form sometimes can be a little bit misleading, but it's finished second behind Labour and did it nicely. So this should be a cracking contest between these two. In terms of your quaddies and that, I'd just be playing around those. Danamora comes back from Alexandra Park Group Racing and himself was pretty unlucky last time. Never got to go at them at all. So you might want to consider them too. But I reckon the winner will definitely come out of 2 and 4. What will be really interesting is how the bookmakers line this pair up.
Yeah, he was definitely unlucky himself last week in that race that Ron McKinley won. So, you know, he's part of it. But obviously those two that have drawn so well in that race are going to make it difficult. Race number 8, the Dunstan Horse Feeds Handicap Trot, our last of our handicap trotting races, 2,600 metres at 8:26.
Yeah, Magnifique de Monche, Katie Cox, team going well, horse going really well. She's just got a terrific form line and would only need to reproduce what she's been doing in the last 3 or 4 to go very close to winning this. So she's on top for me. He'd have Test the Boundaries, comes out of that Phoebe Onyx race, and if he wins again the race before, what are you going to go? Well, that form's been franked, and he's way better than his 2 wins that he's had in his career, and they've obviously had some problems. He's now a 9-year-old, but the Fords don't race them unless they're going to be competitive. So it will be Boss Kenny's better than his recent form as well for Tony Barron and John Morrison, and Vertigo's flying, the mare by Peak for Lawrence McCormick. So you might want to consider it too, but. Yeah, I just found it hard to knock Magnifique de Monche. She's racing well, and I expect her to go pretty close to winning this.
She's doing a good job, Katie Cox, isn't she? And she, of course, drove the 2-year-old filly winner last week. It was only a 3-horse field, but for Tom Twytle, caused a bit of an upset, the outsider of the 3 of them, and she got that one.
And how often do we see that in a really small field, the outsider? But gee, I always respect Tom Twytle's team. He doesn't have many, and when he lines them up, those Woodley horses, they always go well, don't they?
Absolutely. The last race, race 9, the first direct taxis mobile pace, 1,980 at 8:51, last leg of that late quaddie.
Again, good race, Darren. Really good form race. Form race we're going to have to follow over the next month. I reckon the each way better the night sounds of cash. Talk about horses dropping back in grade. Last 2 runs have been behind Cranbourne, and last start last week behind Darling Me. Gavin Smith takes the drive this week. John sticking with a better act. I reckon if Sounds of Cash can get the right sort of run into it, of course, performed super at the Cup Carnival, as we know. She's capable of winning this race and might just be one that slips under the bookies' odds. So yeah, under their eye anyway. So I reckon she's a great each way chance. Yorikobi's drawn well. Last start second behind Cosmic Major. Nothing wrong with that form line. Samhara's probably going to go as far as any in this race. So you'd want to have it in. And then you've got He's a Sport and a Better Act. And I sort of found it hard to leave one of them out and not put the other one in. And you know what I mean? I think you probably need to consider that if you're playing multiples there. But really good each way chance for me. Sounds of Cash in the last.
Yeah, she's a very speedy mare, isn't she? And as you say, she performed very well at Cup Meeting, so it'd be good to see her back in form. That's the program for this week. We, of course, race next Friday. We pick up that Westport meeting that's been transferred over the side of the hills. So we'll be running next Friday night at Addington, back to Friday night racing. That'll be hopefully a 10-race program we're looking at, and of course the Westport and Reefton clubs joining together to host a meeting at Rangiora on the grass on the Sunday. So good luck to them. Frustrating time for them. AddingtonRaceway.co.nz for all of your information, Addington news, tips, previews, race fields, and everything else that'll be there later in the week. And enjoy the night Thursday night. We'll leave you with Ron McKinley causing a massive upset in the last race last week.
Better with Bling from Silk, 28 to the third quarter. Ascento a length and a half in front of Shanika. Then came Better Grunter. Himself can't get out. It's Ascento in front from Better Grunter. Wide out is Ron McKinley running on. Silk to the far side. There's a few hopes here. Ascento leads Better Grunter. Better with Bling and Ron McKinley right over the top. Ron McKinley nailed them right on the line to beat Ascento. Third, and I think Better Grunter from Silk. Then Better with Bling, and himself he had no luck. Then Shanika Motor